Hey everybody, today Rahdo runs through his top 10 surprise games. This seems like a particularly appropriate subject to cover today because, surprise, I am stuck at London Heathrow Airport. I have been here since about 10 o'clock this morning, and I'm hoping I'm on standby right now to get a flight out of here at 8:30 tonight. This was certainly an unexpected surprise on my travel arrangements today. Not a pleasant one, unfortunately, but to try to put a smile on my very tired 36 hours with no sleep face, I am going to focus on positive surprises, happy surprises in this quickie top 10 today. I've got my little list right there. Of course, I don't actually have the games in front of me because they're all back home and I just can't wait to get back home. But either way, maybe I'll splice in some pictures of them later if I'm feeling ambitious. I certainly don't feel ambitious at the moment, but hey, I got hours still to kill, so I figured what the heck, let's start counting down. With beginning our number 10, the Big Book of Madness. And now this is really interesting. This is from Yellow. I've done a run through for it. In fact, let's see, I've done a run through for every single one of these games I'm going to talk to. All 10 of these games have gotten run-throughs. So you can just basically go to rahdo.com and do a search and you'll be able to find run-throughs for them, because I gotta say at this point I'm not feeling the strength to be able to come up with links for all of them, although who knows, maybe I'll feel like that later. But number 10 from Yellow Games, the Big Book of Madness, and this was really a surprise to me. Oh, I should say, by the way, I'm kind of ranking these from least surprising to most surprising. So that said, of all these games, which definitely surprised me and or Jen, Big Book of Madness was the least surprising, because I know Yellow Games makes fantastic, high quality, gorgeous, well-designed productions. But prior to Big Book of Madness, pretty much all their games focus really on the lighter end of the scale, basically they haven't really been very many Yellow games that Jen and I have been too terribly excited about playing. And I went into Big Book of Madness kind of assuming more of the same. I knew it was a co-op, but I figured it was going to be a really light, kind of family-friendly one, just based on the overall presentation and based on the pedigree of Yellow. So imagine my surprise when Jen and I started playing it and we found a very fun, rich, and deep deck building experience that really is just a blast. And the main surprise, like I said, was that it kind of bucked the trend. I'm hoping to see more of this from Yellow because, of course, they already have some of the highest quality production in the industry. So if they start working on games that are getting kind of into mid-weight territory, like Big Book of Madness, or maybe even heavyweight territory, oh my gosh, that'd be fantastic. What is the game itself? Well, you know what? I just don't have the strength, folks, and I don't have the box in front of me, so I'll just say go check out the run-through if you want to know more. In a nutshell, players are apprentice wizards in a wizarding school that have unleashed the Big Book of Madness and have to defeat all the bad guys coming out of it before it stops by doing cooperative deck building. And the thing that really makes the game special is the excellent high level of interaction that goes on between players, that you're constantly having to evaluate what can I do this round, but what can I do to set up somebody else to have an even better turn this round, because the game is always against you. There's a lot of pressure in this game, but it's a lot of fun and it's gorgeous to boot, as are all the Yellow games. And that was number 10, the Big Book of Madness. And now moving on to number 9, excuse me, Olympos. This is one, I think there's going to be a couple more surprises like this, where I went in expecting, quite frankly, for the game not to work for me and Jen, because it featured an element of kind of, aggressive, take that, player screwage, theft, destruction type stuff. That's normally the last thing Jen and I want to see in any of our games. And so I figured Olympos was just going to be yet another game that wasn't going to work for me and Jen. Heck, from the designer of Small World, talk about an aggressive in-your-face game. And this was a civ building game, set in the ancient Aegean, the Greek Isles. And, it very clearly features, the gods smacking down all the players every once in a while as they go about their business trying to build up their own individual civilizations, but also a lot of direct player competition over limited land resource. And so I thought that was just going to be a turnoff for me and Jen because we're the ultimate Care Bears. But imagine my surprise. I think I'm going to say that a lot in this video since it's all about surprises. When I found Jen and I actually did not mind the combat in this game at all. And that's because it's a really clever system where, yeah, you know what, I'll come along and I'll steal this parcel of land, this region that you had conquered for yourself. And the nice thing, and I'll take it, I'll use it, you lose the ability to use it, but there's a couple of benefits for you. First of all, I have to spend time, which is the number one resource of this game, to give you, or I'm sorry, I have to spend time tokens, and you receive these time tokens. You receive time tokens if I'm going to take over your land. So you get a little benefit, but the cost is you lose access to whatever the resources were that land provides. But the interesting thing is, I don't kick you out. I never kick you out. I basically just subjugate your land. And if any time you want to take it back, you can just spend a little bit of that time you got to just grab it back. And so the game really never feels like a very, very in-your-face fight. It's more like, oh, well, I'm going to borrow this parcel of land for a while. Oh, and then you'll borrow it later because, players almost kind of a shared ownership. I didn't really expect that going in, but we found it very pleasant. And of course, the game has a lovely tech tree. It does a lot of really great stuff. And that was number 9, Olympos. And now moving on to number 8, Kemble's Cascade. Or more importantly, I believe it's the Battle at Kemble's Cascade, I think is the full name. And the surprise about this one, I went in pretty excited about the game. I had already, learned about it, read the rules. I was pretty confident I was going to like it. The big surprise was how much Jen liked it. And that's not going to be the only time I say that in this run through as well. That Jen surprised me because I didn't expect for 1 second that she was going to be remotely interested in the theme of the game, which is this basically replicates classic retro 80s arcade style shoot 'em ups, shmups, and brings it into cardboard analog board game form. I really didn't think Jen was going to like it all because she has no particular love for the subject matter. I guess she played Centipede back in the day, but she's more of a Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug type of girl, and never really got into the spaceships flying around, blowing up aliens thing. So I just thought the subject matter would just kill it in its tracks. So imagine my surprise when Jen said she liked it quite a bit. I'm not going to say it made her top 10 or anything like that, but she really enjoyed the game. She said, yeah, this is definitely a keeper, and so we have kept it. And I think that is a testament to the rock solid, fun and compulsive gameplay. The game is really, really cleverly designed to capture a lot of the feel, particularly the in-game boss, which are these big, gigantic things that, and players can kind of focus on different areas and weaken them. It's a really cleverly designed game. Now, there is one problem we have with it, which is, and actually this is kind of a surprise too, as a longtime fan of shmups, the number one rule about shmups is when you're playing them, as a two-player, players can't shoot each other. You're competing to get the high score, but you can't hurt each other. You're just trying to blow up the most stuff, get the most power-ups. In this game, I don't know why, it breaks the rules. You can shoot each other, and Jen and I didn't enjoy that at all. I totally didn't expect that. So, no problem. You watch my run through in Final Thoughts, you'll see I went on ahead and made a variant for myself, a friendly variant, so that Jen and I didn't need to worry about that, and the game holds up beautifully. It's a lovely game. It was a big surprise for me anyway. That was number 8, Kemble's Cascade, and now on to number 7 and number 6. They're both on this list for basically the same reason. I wasn't 100% certain about the games. I knew the designers had, strong pedigrees, and I knew the presentation was going to be phenomenal based on, the track record of the publishers involved. But I wasn't sure about the gameplay. And they had actually, both of these games, number 7 and number 6, had gotten a fair amount of kind of negative. Oh, by the way, sorry for all the noise, everybody. As you can see, as I said, I am just sitting here in the airport, just kind of, let me show you my situation. Here I am. I'm just sitting on the floor, keeping the computer charged. I'm just waiting for Air Malta to show up. Apparently they don't show up until 3 hours before boarding, and I've got to check this big old bag, and I got to beg and plead, and please, I need to get on that plane. I can't spend, if I don't get on this plane tonight, I'm going to spend another 12 hours on the floor of this airport. Oh my God. But anyway, sorry, enough about my problems. Back to number 7 and number 6. Oh, what are they? Let's just cut to the chase. Number 7, Cargo Noir. Number 6, Kingdom Builder. Both of these games were surprises to me because I went into them expecting them not to be that great because they had both gotten really kind of slammed in reviews. Most notably Tom Vasel. He really kind of ripped apart both of these games. And that was a time when I was paying a little bit more attention to what Tom thought, and I hadn't quite realized just how often he and I radically disagree with game quality, or the subjective nature of what makes a good game, because both these games are phenomenal. But I still have time. I went in thinking, well, yeah, they're both kind of a little light, and Jen and I, we don't tend to go for light games. They're both a little abstract. Jen and I don't tend to go for abstract games. And then they both had kind of gotten beaten up in reviews. They didn't seem to really get a lot of attention. But it turns out they are both phenomenal games. Cargo Noir is an excellent gateway style auction game. Great for introducing new players. I mean, heck, depending on the players, I would probably use Cargo Noir over Ticket to Ride as a gateway game. But the interesting thing, it's a gateway game that Jen and I still enjoy quite a bit. And another thing that's really surprising about it, it's an auction game that works great. I'm not saying well, it works great with 2 players. So that's a lot of surprises in a box right there. Then you go on to Kingdom Builder, which, it's not just Tom Vasel. A lot of people beat up on that, even though it won the Spiel des Jahres, I believe, the year it came out. So, I don't know, maybe that wasn't so surprising. No, that's true, because I played it before it actually won the Spiel des Jahres. That's right. I'm thinking back. Because I went in thinking, well, it'll probably be okay, but this whole thing of every turn you have 1 card, and you don't have 2 cards and choose which one to play. You don't have a hand of 3, and you don't do any drafting. You don't do anything. You just draw a card and you play it. And whatever that card tells you, that's the thing you're going to do. And that really struck me as, wow, that's going to be incredibly limiting. So imagine my surprise when we actually play it and we find it is a very compelling and rich game, where even though you are going for, looks like I'm not the only person filming today. I have no idea what they're talking about, but there we go. I think they're a little bit more comfortable. And they have some nicer equipment too. Sorry. I'm so out of it, folks. I'm very scatterbrained today. But anyway, it's brilliant that it's what I had gone in expecting to be a weakness of the game is actually a strength of the game, because the game is a very challenging puzzle to try to figure out. Yeah, you only get 1 card. That card tells you, okay, well, you could build in flower bed, the canyons, or you could build in the forest, or you could build in the grasslands, and that's all it tells you to do. So you have to be incredibly smart about the choices you make, because you can be very, very limited, and you have to build cleverly to give yourself a lot of flexibility. It's a brilliant game. Both of these are brilliant games, and they were both big surprises to me, although they were very educational, because now it was really those 2 games that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, I guess Jen and I, we don't necessarily jibe with majority opinion, and wasn't too long after that I actually started making my own videos, and I found, hey, there's a lot of people who agree with me out there. And I'm sure a lot of you probably agree. Kingdom Builder and Cargo Noir are excellent. I don't know about Cargo Noir, but it surprised us. Both of them did. All right, so that was number 7 and number 6. Let's move on to number 5, SOS Titanic. Oh my goodness. What a wonderful surprise this was. I went in a little apprehensive, a little hesitant, because on the surface, this game, all it does is put a thematic veneer on the top of Klondike, the classic solitaire game that probably everybody's played at one point or another on their computer, since it always comes with Windows, and it has ever since Windows 3, I guess. And I guess it's widely available on Macs too. And so taking Klondike mechanisms and then putting the sinking of the Titanic on top of that, well, I mean, I didn't have much hope. Main reason I went for that game is for the gimmick, because the game comes with this flip book that over the course of the game, you keep flipping pages that demonstrates how the Titanic is sinking over time, in a way that is, representative of certainly what James Cameron taught us all in the feature film. So I went in for the flip book, because I thought that was really cool, a neat gimmick. So imagine my surprise when I found out the game itself is so compelling. It is an excellent, excellent solitaire game. If I ever make a top 10 solo games that I enjoy, it would definitely make the list. But, and this was another surprise too, because I'd heard people say, well, yeah, you pretty much have to get it as a solo game. It's no good as co-op. That's crazy talk. It is a very fun co-op game. Each player gets a special ability, and you really do have to spend a fair bit of time thinking cleverly about how best to leverage the card draws, because you're playing Klondike. You're drawing 3 cards every turn, trying to play them to build up the stacks. It's a really smart game. You can learn more about it, like all these games in my run through. But anyway, that was number 5, SOS Titanic. Now, number 4, from Martin Wallace, Brass. Now, this was a very big surprise. It was a big risk because officially, Brass doesn't support 2 players. And if it doesn't support 2 players, if it doesn't work well with 2 players, Jen and I really don't have any time for it. But I had read online that there was a fan-made variant that allowed for 2 players, and a lot of people spoke very highly of it. And and Jen and I had previously discovered London, and we really liked that. So I was like, I want to try some more Martin Wallace. I want to try some of this heavier stuff that he's known for. Okay, I'll take a gamble. I'll take a risk. Oh, please don't let me down, because I've tried fan-made, 2-player variants before, and they almost never work. So you said it. You guessed it, folks. Imagine my surprise. It works phenomenally, and you can see how this variant works in my run-through I did of it, where I show, and you can actually find the links to the variant, I think, in that video as well. But such a happy surprise, because it is an excellent game, and it was crazy that the game wasn't shipped as a 2-player. It's such a shame that Martin Wallace, for whatever reason, seems to not be too terribly concerned about 2-player experience. I mean, I remember reading an interview with him once where he said, well, yeah, I don't worry too much about the 2-player, because I know that my fans will end up making variants for it anyway. Obviously, he's referring to Brass, and it is surprising how well this game works. I mean, it doesn't really feel like it sacrifices much of anything. I'm sure it does. Ignorance is bliss on my part, because I only play as a 2-player game, but it's surprising how phenomenally good it is as a 2-player game, considering it says on the back of the box, 3 and up. It's not a 2-player game. So anyway, that was Brass, number 4. Oh, we're getting close to the end, folks. Number 3, Shadowrun Crossfire. Oh yeah, I love this game so much, and I am so happy I took a chance on it at at Gen Con last year, 2014. I didn't really know. Well, the main thing is, I knew there was some stuff that was interesting. A cooperative deck builder, that's always going to catch my attention. I started this list with a cooperative deck builder, Big Book of Madness. So it's clearly something Jen and I enjoy. So I went in, optimistic about that, and I love the permanence, the fact that the longer you play, you make permanent changes to your character that you actually apply onto your character card with stickers, so you start to customize and build characters with special abilities. I absolutely love that. But what I expected to hate, and what I expected Jen to hate, was the theme. Shadowrun has never really done it for me. I remember playing the old Super Nintendo game back when I worked at Nintendo a million years ago, and is that right? Or was that after I left? I think actually, I think I might be, how everybody's memory is completely unreliable. I think actually the Super Nintendo Shadowrun came out after I left Nintendo, after I was fired, but that's a whole nother story. Oh my, don't go down that rabbit hole. All right, anyway, what was I just talking about? Right, Shadowrun Crossfire. So Shadowrun, it's never really, and there was that Xbox 360 game. It was actually a very good shooter, but I was just so turned off by the theme. I expected to be really turned off by the theme. I expected Jen to be even more turned off by the thing, because there's nothing she hates more than running around firing off submachine guns at other humanoids. But the gameplay itself is so good. I mean, I went in mostly for the permanence, for leveling up characters and all that. I had no idea just how amazing the gameplay is. I mean, Shadowrun Crossfire immediately rocketed into my top 10 games of all time, and it's still sitting there. I have played it more than any other game that I've picked up in the last 3 years, I think. Escape Curse of the Temple I've played more. And it's just brilliant. It's an incredibly hard, incredibly crushing, incredibly brutal, fast-paced, action-adventure, cooperative deck builder set in the Shadowrun universe. And I'll still say Shadowrun universe is not a draw, but I'm finding myself having a lot more warm and fuzzy feelings for it, because I love this game so much. It was such a huge surprise to both me and Jen. That's why it's we're getting up to the top with number 3, Shadowrun Crossfire. And now number 2, Theseus Dark Orbit. And I gotta tell you folks, there was no way in heck I was gonna enjoy this game. I was absolutely positive. It's from Portal Games, and it is a very in-your-face player conflict, me trying to take you out, blow up your stuff, and do everything I can to impede your progress kind of game. This is the antithesis of what I like to play. And then on top of that, its setting is a derelict abandoned space station with space marines versus evil scientists versus xenomorph aliens versus gray aliens versus ancient aliens. And that's something that's guaranteed to make Jen's skin crawl. She would hate everything about that. And I told Ignacy Trepchuk, the head guy of Portal, Portal is the publisher of this game, when he tried to push it on me. I think it was Essen 2013, I think. And he came up and said, "You must try this game. You must try it." And I'm like, "Ignacy, there's no way I'm going to like this. It's just so not our bag, baby." And he said, "You try it. You try it. You take it home and you try it, and you tell me you don't like it." And I'm like, "Okay." And we took it home, and we were surprised how amazing it is. Now, I think the main thing I didn't really take into account, and actually this is a game that really kind of introduced me to this concept of, in a two-player scenario, direct conflict, if it's just over points, then that's something that we can find palatable. Because really, in a two-player game, me stealing 3 points from you is just the equivalent of me making 3 points for myself. Me preventing you from gaining 3 points is like me gaining 3 points. It's a very zero-sum thing. It was Theseus Dark Orbit that really made me start to evaluate, well, okay, which games that have conflict do I like and which ones don't, and what's the difference? And the thing about Theseus is, well, it's kind of like Olympos. I mentioned that earlier as well. Both of these games, you never really get a sense of attachment to the stuff you're building. You never really feel like you're going to be able to hold on to it for very long, or it's not going to come to fruition. So it doesn't feel so bad when it gets destroyed, or when, for me, even worse, you destroy your opponent's stuff that they're trying to build. Because again, the game is so fast and so hyper-violent and so tactical, but really the core gameplay itself is so good. It's a brilliant puzzle. It's this kind of cool thematic Moncala mechanism. Again, you can see my run through to learn more, but we really enjoyed it because the main thing is, if say I'm the Space Marines and Jen's the scientist. In fact, she always plays the scientist. Either those or the gray aliens, because she doesn't want to play the aggressive guys. She wants to play the researchers, who, to be fair, they can be aggressive because they can set up like booby traps and all kinds of stuff. But I'm chasing after Gen scientists with my xenomorphs. If I get them, all that means is Jen is giving me a chance to score points at her expense. I never actually kill her scientists. She never actually kills my aliens. We just always have to be very careful to try to ensure we put ourselves in spots that we can maximize points for us. In my case, with my aliens, by chomping on her scientists. In her case, with her scientists, by spying on my aliens. Whatever it might be. There's lots of different ways it could go. But it's a brilliant game, and even though on the surface it's very, what many would call interactive, it's interactive that Jen and I can get into quite a bit, and that was the biggest surprise. I have to doff my cap to Ignacy, who guaranteed I would like it, and I was sure I wouldn't. So imagine my surprise. And okay, folks, we are near the end where it's time for number one. This is a fairly recent run through. I just did about a month or so ago. Time Stories. And I actually talked quite a bit about how surprising it was to me, how much Jen and I enjoyed this game on myriad levels. You can see all that in my final thoughts for the video, but I mean, gosh, well, one way it surprised me. Jen actually got into the more horrific storylines that this game, portrays, because this is, I'm not going to say it's a hard R, but it's definitely more than PG-13 in terms of its maturity rating. It has a lot of disturbing imagery in it. In both of the two storylines that have been made available. And these are not the types of stories that Jen would be even remotely interested in experiencing. The theme should be a total turnoff for her. And for me, the core gameplay of this game is so brain-dead simple and shallow. And I'm not mincing words. It is shallow gameplay. You basically just move from location to location, so you can flip story cards, so you can read what's on the back of the card, and try to piece together, a kind of a fighting fantasy style adventure where you're getting all these different clues that are telling you where you need to go and who you need to talk to and what you need to do. And all of that is supplemented by skill-based dice checks where you're rolling customized dice over and over and over again until you get enough successes to be able to beat the guy you're fighting, or outwit the guard you're trying to get past, or decipher the the Byzantine code you're trying to decode, whatever it is, you do it all the same. You just roll these dice and try to get successes. I hate that kind of gameplay. So I should hate this game. Jen hates the themes that are in it. She should hate this game. We love the game. And the main reason is because this one little thing, which I didn't expect. Even reading the rules, I just didn't appreciate how important the one rule is, which is whenever you or I move our character marker over to a space and there's a card there, I get to flip the card, I get to read the story that's on there, but I am not allowed to read it out loud. I have to read it to myself, put it back down, and then tell Jen or whoever my other teammates are what it is I discovered. And that one little thing creates such a sense of engagement. I mean, players are telling stories to each other. The game actively recruits players into becoming storytellers, and that is brilliant. So even though it's a story Jen doesn't want to hear, she does want to hear it from me. And it feels so much more real and involving. You create connections to this world that you would not normally get. It's amazing. It is surprising how impactful this one simple little rule is. And to be fair, it's just a rule that could have been on Arkham Horror, could have been on Eldritch Horror, could have been on a million different games. And quite frankly, all of these games would have been drastically improved with this one clever little idea. Players can't read cards to each other. They have to retell the story of the cards in their own words. It's brilliant, it's wonderful. It is one of the biggest surprises I have stumbled across in board games yet, just how impactful such a simple little rule can be. And that's it, folks. That's my top 10 pleasant surprises in board games. Now, you might be thinking, hey, what about X, Y, or Z? Well, in an upcoming podcast, which you can always find at podcast.rahdo.com, I will revisit this list. If other people have, hey, what about X, Y, or Z? I'll talk about those. If anything else occurs to me, I might do a little update. That will come in the next month or so watch for that. But otherwise, I am now going to get a drink of water because my throat is dry and then go back to waiting. How much time did I just kill? I just killed about a half an hour. So only, 3.5 more hours to wait until the Air Malta people show up so I can hopefully cross your fingers for me, folks. Heck, by the time you see this video, it'll be too late, but retroactively, cross your fingers for me. I want to get on a plane tonight. I've been in this airport way too long. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. So long. Bye-bye.